Good evening, YouTube. Fucking excited today. We're gonna be talking about some fucking brutal New York fucking death metal today. And I'm really excited. We're gonna be talking about Morpheus Descends, only album ever released in 1992, Ritual of Infinity. And to celebrate this, I got my Campbell Corpse shirt, another New York death metal band, biggest death metal band in the world. And we're going to go in the background of Morpheus Descends. Morpheus Descends formed in the year 1990. And they originally formed, if I can remember the members off the top of my head, Craig Campbell, Ken Faggio on bass. They got Robert Jensch. I'm thinking of the other one, I forgot. But anyway, moving back, Morpheus Descends formed in 1990, just under Morpheus. And Morpheus, if you didn't know, is actually the name of the god of sleep in Greek mythology. And then they put out two demos in one EP under the name Morpheus. They put out Accelerated Decrepitude in 1991. That was their first demo. Then they put out an EP called Audiosphere. And then in 1992, Craig Campbell left the band and stepped in Jeff Reimer, and they put out Corpse Under Glass. And then, after 1992, they changed their name to Morpheus Descends. Morpheus descended to hell on this album. It's fucking bone-crushingly heavy, like ridiculous levels. Now, Yonkers, if you didn't know, is a very prominent, very large death metal scene. I don't know what it is about Yonkers, but the music in that particular part of New York is so grim and so goddamn heavy. It's insane. I mean, outside of Morpheus Descends, you have Malignancy. Check out their song Rotted Seed. Awesome song. Off their album Intrauterine Cannibalism. And you also got Mortician, who's probably the heaviest death metal band ever. I mean, they're just stupid heavy. You got Malignancy, Mortician, Immolation, another band I love. You know, really brutal bands, and their rap scene is grim as hell as well. I mean, you got DMX, you know, rest in peace to him, passed away last year. One of my favorite rappers of all time. You know, I went to his concert in 2019. It was a rap festival, and he was the best out of all the other huge artists there. In terms of live performance, incredible. And also in Yonkers, you got The Lox, made up of Chic Luch, Styles P, and Jadakiss. I don't know what it is about Yonkers. I've never been there personally, but the music in that city is so grim and dirty. It's nuts. Unbelievable. But anyway, going back to Morpheus Descends, Ritual of Infinity. This is their only album, like I said. It was released in 1992. And it was released under the record label JL America, which has been defunct for a long time. 2.5, 3 decades. Yeah, that record label's completely defunct. And it was produced by Bob Vandermark. So anyway, going back, 1992, this thing dropped. You know, brutal death metal was really in its infancy. The only really other brutal death metal albums I can think of that were released before this was like Suffocation's Effigy of the Forgotten and Broken Hope Swamped in Gore. But this album is heavier than both of them. This album is so goddamn heavy. It's like as heavy as an elephant's behind. It's like insane. So for example, the very first song, The Way of the Flesh, it starts out with a gradual crescendo, and then it just explodes into these very heavy, evil sounding tremolo picked riffs. And it goes, and it just speeds up throughout the entire song until it goes batshit insane. It's nuts.
The scent of immemorial pain, vision of the souls of the most, praying the dead with the stretch of infinite hell. Forgive the victims of damnation. Soldier in the legion of the dead.
also, I got the drummer's name. It's Sam and Zara. They formed with him too. And also on this album, they have George Hansen on the other guitar. So it's Jeff Reimer, George Hansen, Sam and Zara, Ken Faggio, and Robert Jensch. That's who makes up this album. Anyway, going back, this album is so fucking brutal. And the second song, Corpse Under Glass, probably the best song of the album, the hit of the album, the catchiest song of the album. That is one of the most crushing, brutal death metal works ever written. Hands down. And one thing that makes this album so goddamn heavy compared to others is this bottom end production on it. The production isn't the best. It's not like, Harris Johns from the Music Lab in Berlin. No, it does not have that kind of clarity. It doesn't have that clicky drum sound of Scott Burns either. He was a very well-known producer back then. But this album's low end is so powerful and crushing. It puts most bands to shame. Like the production, even though it's not as well produced as like Effigy of the Forgotten, it's so fucking heavy. It's nuts. And this thing just slams you to the ground. And this album is really good to listen to, after a stressful day at work, with all this political instability going on in our country. This country's falling apart, all the inflation, gas price issues, housing crisis, homelessness, thanks to the leadership of our congressman. This album is more powerful to me than a lot of that pop music that comes out that has that false feel-hood crap. This is what people should be listening to. I don't know why this kind of music isn't more popular, especially in these times of this turmoil going on in our country. This COVID, which still isn't ending. It's even getting worse with the cases. It's fucking crap. But yeah, this music is what should be popular amongst people who have a like mind like me. Not that feel-good pop crap. This is what people should be listening to really think. And also, you got other highlight songs. Obviously, I mentioned The Way the Flesh, track number 1. Corpse Under Glass, track number 2. You got Immortal Coil, one of the heaviest tremolo-picked riffs ever, track number 3. You got fucking Proclaim Creator, which starts out with a funny intro. Man, unbelievable.
There is my creation.
And we're going to talk about the musicians themselves. Obviously, Jeff Reimer, ultra guttural. Way more guttural than, whatever the Europeans were doing back then, except maybe Demolich. But very guttural vocals, very low. The bass by Ken Faggio, very prominent throughout the album. You can hear him very clearly. Bass solos, you can hear it on the backdrop of the crushing music itself. And also the guitars by Rob Jensch and George Hansen. Ridiculously heavy riffs. I don't know what they tune to. I'm guessing C, maybe C sharp, the guitars themselves. But like I said, one of the heaviest albums I've ever heard. Like, this really pushed brutal death metal to its own musical territory. Suffocation and Broken Hope were the beginning. Just really pushed it with the heavy-ass slam riffs. I'm going to say it. This album is better than a lot of the crap that comes out now in terms of metal. My God, it trounces in terms of heaviness. It's ridiculous. And honestly, the drumming by Sam and Zara is one of the highlights of the album. The way he changes time signatures multiple times throughout the music. The way that he blasts, the way that, he plays those tom rolls. and snare hits, phenomenal drumming. One of the best I've ever heard. And also, Jeff Reimer had some of the most guttural, inhuman vocals of the time. Especially because, well, like I said, death metal back then, the vocals weren't as guttural. Death metal was still more bass than thrash. You know, like Obituary, the band Death themselves, some of the heavy hitters. Deicide was pretty guttural, but not nowhere near as guttural as this. And final verdict, this album gets a 9 out of 10 from me. The only thing that really holds it back is the production at times, because it was produced cheaply, if I'm not going to lie. It's very heavy low end, but some of the kick drum sound is so overpowering on the album that it sometimes overpowers the guitars and the vocals themselves. And the guitars, when they play tremolo picking for a long time, I don't know why, but it sounds kind of like a bee or buzzsaw. And not like the Swedish in a good way, but kind of not the best way. But anyway, this album gets 9 out of 10 from me. Check out the first track, track number 2, track number 3, track number 6, and Ritual of Infinity, the title track. But this album, 9 out of 10, even on Metal Archives, has a 90% rating, which is excellent. But go check it out, you know. You're going to be fucking crushed when you listen to this. That's all I'm going to say. This is way heavier than Cannibal Corpse. Equally as heavy as Suffocation. This is way better than the other New York death metal band from New York City, Internal Bleeding. I think they're too generic. They just breakdowns the entire song. They're not that good. Pyrexia is good, but their production's even worse than this. But anyway, check out this album. This is Mike, and I'm out.